I don't know, it seems to me if this world without no music, you wouldn't have nothing. You wouldn't have nothing to look forward to.
Before there were radios, television, or record players, there was music. The wellspring of the country sound is the folk music that everyday people made to amuse themselves over 100 years ago in the green, misty valleys of our Appalachian Mountains.
People in the mountains would sing just because they would sing. They sang when they were doing the laundry. They sang when they were rocking the babies. They sang when they went to church. I think it was just a release and a wonderful, glorious thing for mountain people to do.
I grew up on a dirt road farm. And you sit on your porch in the spring and the summer with my guitar. I had a little guitar, and I'd strum for anybody that came along.
Music was very uncomplicated, just as the folks back then were uncomplicated. So you had the preacher singing, trying to convert the sinners, and the farmers and the factory workers singing to try to make the work go faster and make the time flow. So many times families gathered together in the evening just to make homemade entertainment. You know, when the light bulb was invented in the 1800s, people moved indoors. And when they had AC come along, the front porches went out. And I think when the TV was invented, a terrible thing happened. Families stopped making homemade entertainment in the evenings.
Country music came from the back porches of America, the living rooms, the parlors, the barn dances. And this is in the 20s. The record executives found out about it, and then they turned it into a big industry.
People would gather together, neighbors, in their home, and they would sit down and play instruments, you know, the banjo and the fiddle.
You had music everywhere. You had music over the dishpan and rocking the baby and sweeping the floor and in the cornfield, and you sang songs to make the work go better. And in the evenings, you'd sit on the front porch with the family and enjoy the songs. Suddenly you'd realize that you were singing and you'd listen to them.
Oh, my mommy sang all the time, and she would always sing when she was sewing on the old Singer sewing machine. And I would be rocking the babies while Mommy was sewing and making clothes for us to wear. And Mommy would sing all these songs about the little orphan girl and Come Up Here, My Little Bessie, and The Great Titanic. And if there was anything that happened in the hills or in the mountains, Mommy wrote about it, or somebody else wrote about the song, you know.
I think paying attention to the roots of country music is extremely important. I mean, the authenticity of country music isn't really as evident, I think, now as it used to be.
I became aware that what we call American country music really has its roots and beginnings in the folk songs and ballads of the British Isles, Ireland in particular, Scotland, England, and Wales.
Having toured and visited in Scotland and Ireland and England, I saw terrain that reminded me very much of Southwest Virginia, Eastern Tennessee, and Kentucky, and it's my theory that they migrated here, came in off the little East Coast, and then came on further westward until they found terrain that reminded them of home, and they put down roots and started a way of life that they'd known there and hung on to their music, and some of it was changed a little bit maybe to fit the locale. But I think really that's the basis of a lot of our Americana today.
America represents all of these countries coming here for freedom, religious freedom, for the freedom to grow up to raise their children to be the kind of people they want to be instead of what the Lord of the land or the King of the land says. America represented that. When all those people came to America, they brought their music with them. They brought a little bit of Ireland, a little bit of Scotland, a little bit of England. So when I sing my grandma's song, Come-a-loo, come-a-loo, come-a-hilo, come down the merry stream, it's the essence of country folk music. that is all of those ancestors bringing together what we have, which is really American music, which is really music that roots go back to the world.
Although we think of the guitar as country's main instrument, before the 1930s, the fiddle was the dominant instrument in country music.
And I'll play one of those old tunes just about as well as I can, as this old fellow fiddled them for us in them days.
The fiddle became a very important instrument because it could carry the melody, it could sing, and it could make people dance.
I'd say a fiddler is probably the most important member of any community. The way the old-time fiddlers play is just so rhythmic and so full of life that that's really all you need for a band.
The fiddle has early roots here in Nashville. The first Grand Ole Opry member was Uncle Jimmy Thompson. He played fiddle, and his niece accompanied him on piano. There was no singing. It was mainly just playing instrumental music in those days in country, and it was almost reverse. It was sort of like if they had a vocal, it would be a vocal solo in the middle of the tune. And Roy Acuff, another great fiddler that came along in the 1930s, kind of reversed that pattern to where the ballad was sung and there was instrumental breaks. And so I think you've got to credit Roy Acuff with the first one to really develop the pop song.
Listen to the jingle, the rumble, and the roar as she glides along the woodland, through the hills and by the shore. Hear the roar of the engine, hear those lonesome hobos squall. You're traveling through the jungles on the Wabash Cannonball.
The five-string banjo goes back to the 1800s. It came over as an instrument from Africa, of all places. It was a slave instrument that they'd use to dance with as a four-string instrument. Around 1840, some put a fifth string on, a shorter one. And they started using it in minstrel shows, and it developed its own new style of music. As time went on, it became one of the essential instruments of the prairie and the frontier. People would make sure on that wagon train that they had either a fiddler or a banjo player.
They believed in Jesus, not one word was said. It went on down to Lazarus' grave, raised him from the dead.
In the 1920s, the banjo was taken to greater fame by the first big star of radio's Grand Ole Opry. He was part medicine show barker, part minstrel, part comic, part evangelist, and all ham. Uncle Dave Macon.
Uncle Dave started out his career as a teamster, wagon driver, delivery company, the Macon Midway Mule and Mitchell Wagon Company, running between Woodbury and Murfreesboro, Tennessee. Folks who used to live along the road used to see him riding along in his wagon playing the banjo as he went along.
His parents ran a theatrical hotel on Broadway in Nashville, and he was very much entranced by the early circuses, and they all carried minstrel shows.
Rural entertainers like Uncle Dave were influenced by gospel melodies, blues tunes, British folk songs, and music they heard performed by traveling minstrel shows, vaudeville troupes, and medicine shows.
Well, the train pulled on to the very next stop. I looked around about 17 cop. Across the hill, you ought to seen me run. Bang-a, bang-a, bang-a with my Gatling gun. Taking me back, taking me back, taking me back, taking me back, taking me back to my old Carolina home. Oh, yeah, taking me back, taking me back, taking me back.
He could really entertain the folks. He could play that banjo and sing, you know. And the people, they was tickled to death because Uncle Dave Macon from the Grand Ole Opry was on the show there, and they wanted to see him, you see.
Taking me back, taking me back, taking me back, taking me back to that old Carolina home.
Uncle Dave had more to do with me than anybody that I know of. I watched every show he done when he was on the tent show with us. I'd watch him every night, and he had a different show every night. Something was different. He was a great man, I thought.
Later on in his life, he discovered that he could make a good living playing music, which he really did dearly love to do, and it took him a long time to extricate himself from his old profession. And then he wound up being probably, I would say, the first really potent singer, songwriter, performer, instrumentalist on the Grand Ole Opry.
If I was on some foggy mountaintop, I'd sail away to the west. I'd sail all around this whole wide world to the girl I love the best. If I had listened to what Mama said, I would not be here today.
Phonograph record makers discovered a market for the rustic sounds of country music in the 1920s. Victor Records talent scout Ralph Peer brought portable recording equipment to Bristol, Virginia in August of 1927. With these Bristol recordings, which have been referred to as the birth of country music, the first two national recording superstars of country music were discovered, Jimmie Rodgers and the Carter Family.
Mr. Peer, you know, he put an ad in the Bristol paper for all talent to come up and try out. Maybelle, AP, and I, we decided we'd go up. Of course, we didn't think anything about it. Just thought it more or less just a trip.
Victor Record Company decided that they could sell country music nationwide. They decided to send a portable studio to the South to get all this folk and hillbilly music and all this music that hadn't been sold before. So when they sent their studio out, Bristol was the first stop.
It was a big deal to travel to Bristol back then. And I can remember the cars, they must have not been very good because they kept having flats. Back then, I mean, you know, you got out and fixed a flat. You didn't take it to a filling station or somewhere, and you'd carry these patches along and strike a match and get the patch hot, and then you'd slap it on the inner tube, you know.
Tomorrow was our wedding day, but oh, somewhere it be.
I think the first time I heard the Carter Family was on the radio at night when I was very small. The simplicity of deliverance and the performance in those songs was like like my life, you know. Things were pretty cut and dried, black and white, straight ahead. And that's the way the Carter family came at you right in the face, you know, and it felt good.
My dad, he was a collector, I guess you'd say, of songs. He'd find parts of it and finish up maybe enough to make a song out of it.
Those were songs that came over, you know, from the old world. The Carter family did such a wonderful job of bringing these to the forefront and doing them in a way that people understood, and just to show how these wonderful songs can live forever for hundreds and thousands of years.
There was a great influence of the songs that might have come from Ireland, England, and Scotland with those people that came into southwestern Virginia. They would get little pieces of songs, but then there would be songs that they wrote.
It was on a day when soldiers wrote the line to those they loved, to mothers, wives, and sweethearts far away. When a fair-haired boy sat dreaming of a far-off southern town, of a dark-eyed maid who's waiting day by day. While the band is playing Dixie, I'm humming home, sweet home.
There is something about the imagery of the Carter family, the old-time music, that I still find very moving. The songs of the Carter family, there's a poignancy there. It's so heartbreaking. The simplicity of what they write about. I don't know whether we've lost the ability to capture that. I think as a genre, maybe we have.
They were on a station in Texas. Their theme song was Keep on the Sunny Side, and they sang it like a funeral dirge or something. Keep on the sunny side. And I thought, why don't they sing it fast and sing it happy? And then this bass singer would come in, he'd sing a few lines, and then he'd drop out, which was AP, of course.
Keep on the sunny side, always on the sunny side.
I said, boy, that's exactly like we used to sing sitting around the house at home. You sing hymns and things.
As long as I can remember, back as a youngster, age 5, 6 even, when I was first interested in the old country records, some of my very favorites were the Carter family recordings.
I sell the morning paper, sir. My name is Jimmy Brown. Everybody knows I am the newsboy of the town. You'll hear me yelling a morning star as I run along the street. I have no hat upon my head, no shoes upon my feet. I have no hat upon my head, no shoes upon my feet.
Uncle A.P., he would sell fruit trees, or he would have an old sawmill somewhere. That was a big priority in his life. He loved music, but the two who really loved to sing and to play music, I think, was Mother and Aunt Sarah. And they would play for fun.
Maybelle played a style that's easy to play, but it was original, I guess. She just played melody on the bass strings, and rhythm with her finger, and the Wildwood Flower, you know, is like the national anthem of country music.
Mother Maybelle was the one that I wanted to learn to pick my guitar like. And I learned every one of her songs and every one of Jimmie Rodgers' songs, knew all of those. But Mother Maybelle was my favorite.
Mother Maybelle invented this style of playing called the Carter Scratch, which was kind of your thumb and your fingernails kind of scratching on the strings. When I learned how to play guitar, and like thousands of my friends, it was the first thing we learned. It was this beautiful melodic way of sort of playing lead and rhythm at the same time. And that influenced every guitar player I ever met.
What she played was accessible. When you heard her play the guitar, it was something a person could do, and it sounded good, and she could do it. And it was just, it was a magical thing. Working with her was like working with an angel in attitude and delivery.
I started back when I was a kid. I used to play 5-string banjo. In fact, I started playing the auto harp before I could remember, to tell you the truth. And then I started playing 5-string banjo, and I took up guitar when I was 13 years old.
I met Maybelle Carter about 1948, I guess it was, in Knoxville, Tennessee. She was 39 years old, and they gave me a job, Maybelle and the Carter Girls, and kind of saved my life. I needed work at that time. She played a little tune I liked where she did a lick. You Are My Flower. And so I wrote a tune about Maybelle, and I loved her so much and still miss her. Yeah, it's called Maybelle.
It took a long, long time for people to realize what they were doing and to put any value on their songs. And you get to looking back, the roots is what you have to keep alive and keep it going. If you let the roots die, there ain't nothing going to happen. It's gone.